Hi guys, it's Laura here from Be Modern Meditation, just having a little stroll in the afternoon, and I thought I'd just drop in and talk about putting a vote in and what I mean by that, and drop me a hashtag replay if you're watching this later, you catch up with me later. It's actually a bit grey and miserable, but it's nice sort of, in a way I quite like the sort of brown wintry colours in a way sometimes. But anyway, what's this business about putting a vote in? Well, I've been listening to a podcast with Brené Brown, and if you haven't come across Brené Brown's work, look her up, particularly on vulnerability and shame. She's a shame researcher, and she's got one of the most listened to TED Talks of all time. So look up Brené Brown TED Talk if you haven't come across her work. She's a really engaging storytelling kind of speaker, and she's just ace. And Unlocking Us is her podcast, or one of her podcasts. She's got another one called Dare to Lead, which is a bit more business focused. But in her podcast, this last 2 episodes, she was interviewing somebody called James Clear, who wrote a book called Atomic Habits. And of course, this time of year, it does put you in mind, doesn't it, of like building new practices and new habits, and, you know, setting goals for ourselves and all of that stuff. And also the accompanying challenge with that and how difficult it is. And I just really loved, and it really landed for me, what they were talking about around building habits. And it's really about moving away from goal focused of like, you know, I must achieve this and I must get there, and more identity focused. So identity led habit change. And what that means is that rather than saying, let's take meditation as a really good example, because it is something that people struggle to build as a practice. I know that. A lot of the work I do is to help people with that. And because we want the benefits of having meditation practice, nobody wakes up in the morning and thinks, I want to be really good at meditation. What we want is to feel calmer, clearer, have more clarity. Knows what clearer is, Laura. Have more clarity and feel just more connected to your life and happier and all those things. And the problem with building a meditation practice actually often is that the practice itself is inherently hard to feel success in, because no matter how many times you close your eyes, your mind's always going to be busy, often. And even when you do reach that still place, you can feel like that's what you're trying to do, is reach this still place. And if you don't, then somehow it's gone wrong. That's a whole other topic. But this idea of identity-led habit change, behavior change, is basically saying that rather than saying to yourself, okay, I want to be somebody who, I want to meditate, I'm going to make myself meditate, I'm going to meditate 20 minutes every day, or I'm going to meditate every day, or whatever goal you might have. It's like, I want to become someone who meditates, because that's really when something becomes part of your identity and it's just part of who you are and what you do. It's not something you have to make happen, it's just something that happens. And we've probably all had experiences of that, where there's things that that you didn't used to do and now you do, and so you don't even think about it. You might say, hang on a second, I'm just going to stop the dog from stalking swans. Milky, leave it. There's some swans on this stretch of the river, and look at her coming back like, yeah, what is it, mum? But yeah, so for me, let's take an example of healthy eating, for example, or dieting. In fact, I had a great guest expert last week talking about detoxing from diet culture, and there's some connections with this. But it's like, rather than setting a goal of I'm going to lose 3 stone, I'm going to do whatever, it's like, actually, I'm going to become somebody who eats healthily, and that's going to become, I want that to be my identity. And so it's about, rather than then if you don't achieve it, or you don't get to that goal, then you've failed and you're useless. It's like you're heading towards it. And because actually a habit it has to be a lifelong thing for it to be meaningful. And so what he talks about, and I love this concept of, every time you do that thing, even if it's just a small thing, you're putting a vote in for becoming that type of person. And over time, the more you do that, you kind of go, oh, I'm someone who does this. And so with meditation, let's take that as an example. 1 minute of meditation counts. 1 minute of meditation will make a difference. And that can be as simple as closing your eyes, taking your attention to your breath or your body, and every time you get distracted, just noticing it coming back. That's how simple it can be. And you could do that. You could say, right, before I get out of the car, I'm just going to spend a minute doing that. Or when I go to the toilet, I'm just going to spend a minute doing that. And every time you do, that's you casting a vote for being a person who meditates. And being a meditator, being someone who is ultimately the reason you want to be a meditator is because you want to be somebody who has a calm mind, or who is able to find calm in their mind and have space from their thoughts. So, and I just really think that's a lovely way to think about habits. It's like, I'm going to cast a vote each time I do it. And the more votes I cast, the more it becomes part of who I am. And I would love to know if that resonates for you, because it really was a real light bulb for me of why is it that some habits have been successful for me and some haven't. And it's because in some way I've changed my identity. I've moved my identity towards being that person who does that thing, rather than giving myself some arbitrary kind of goal-driven thing which makes me just feel a bit crap about myself when I don't achieve it. And I was reflecting on this with the members of my community today, and that's one of the things we were talking about this week, is this idea of, in fact, being in the membership is like putting a vote. Whether they turn up to each session or listen to every practice that I guide them to, or whatever it is, they are, by just being in the membership, that's a vote. Every time they open an email, every time they do turn up, they're casting a vote for being that person. And Julie says, definitely helped me creating my meditation habit on my walk. Yeah, brilliant. And so then suddenly you're someone who walks, you're someone who meditates. And doesn't it feel good when you become, when you're able to say, I'm going to use the example of running because I'm not actually a runner, but like say my husband, he would describe himself as a runner. He is someone who runs, and he doesn't do it all the time, and he's not always consistent. He tries to be, and he does as much as he can, but it's like every time he goes for a run, he's reinforcing hey, this is who I am. And he gets to feel good about that, rather than an alternative identity of I'm not very fit, I'm not someone that exercises, and that kind of, you could just become someone who shows up to the gym. It doesn't matter what you've achieved at the gym. So I'd love to hear what you think, and whether this is something that you would think about. And I would highly recommend looking up Brené Brown's Unlocking Us podcast if you haven't done it before, and her TED Talk. Just Brené Brown TED Talk and you'll find it. And it's a really fascinating topic. So anyway, I wanted to share that on my little meandering walk this afternoon, while I kind of pretend to myself that it's warm and sunny. But the birds don't seem to mind. They're singing away. So wherever you are and whatever you're up to, have a great day, and I will see you very soon. Take care.